All right, everybody, welcome back to Chan It Down. This is episode 324, and I got a great show lined up for you guys today. I have returning guests that you've heard on this show times before. Got William Ramsey of William Ramsey Investigates, Sean McCann of Wake the Dead podcasts, and Hans Utter of the Resonant State podcast. These three guys this year have done multiple deep dives into the Epstein files and really pulled out some of the crucial elements. And for many of us, we probably already the bigger picture actually, and it just confirms that what we already know, but it needs to be understood by everyone, as dark as it is. And for the listeners, don't get stuck in infotainment and staying in this dark realm. I always try to say that because this should be used as a tool to share with those who don't understand that all the institutions of our organized society are run by absolute psychopaths. And that's one of the causal factors in why the world makes no sense on a humanitarian level. And it's an absolute open air insane asylum on many levels too. And so I've been pretty busy this year with a lot of things, and my finger is not on the pulse of what's been being released. I have gone through, but there's 3 million plus files, so there's a lot to look through there. But luckily, these three guys have been digging up lots of good stuff, lots of material, and a lot of discussion that needs to be had. So really, this discussion should be on everyone's lips that really is looking at the world and taking it serious and wondering about these things. But I don't know. It shouldn't be yesterday's news. But anyway, welcome, guys. Welcome back to Chan It Down.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So glad. Yeah. Great to see you.
Good to see you guys again. Last time we all did a show together, we were talking about the fallout from the shot. And now I think this is another thing to focus on that's important. The thing that I thought would be most effective to focus on with today's show is the most important things you guys kind of have combed from the Epstein files that you think people should know, maybe the more important puzzle pieces. So yeah, let's start there, and we may not even get past there. Who knows? But let's go with that.
Yeah, I'll just I tend to be a generalist, so you want to just say that one of the things that's come out is the connection of Epstein with so many things, including COVID, including artificial intelligence, including, major, academic institutions, political players. I mean, Palantir, right? Palantir is, he's an Epstein creation, right? So all these things they show that the real ruling elite and the ruling elite that are steering this agenda that is being ramrodded down our throats. And I talked about the Iran war. Luckily, the financial collapse hasn't come yet. Hopefully, I predicted September for starvation or whatever. Hopefully not necessarily in America. But if you look at even this particular war, it as a strategic, it's probably one of the most retarded blunders in for sure in American history. But I have a Trumpy bear, so I don't care. But the thing is that this war, what does it mean? Well, if you look at the agenda that Epstein was working with a lot of his close compatriots, it's exactly that, right? Smart cities, new global order, complete surveillance grid, AI surveillance grid, flock cameras, right? And, flock cameras are everywhere. This all ties back into Epstein, including 6G, artificial regenerative AI, genetic modification, education, media manipulation, on and on and on. So really, this shows that the whole group of people are all directly linked into Epstein, and we uncovered tertiary and ancillary networks. So Epstein was probably just one node in a vast network. Connects with 9/11. It connects on and on and on. So if you think of a lot of the most important technological or political events, and even including transgender education, whatever, you want to sex change surgery for kids, all this stuff you can link back to funding through the Epstein octopus. So, you have, of course, that famous book, The Octopus. Epstein is like the octopus. Of course, the the octopus, and people are familiar with that. This is, looking at the Promise software, which is a surveillance software, right? Which was stolen. Like the U.S. government stole the software. But basically the Promise software is just an extension of this total control surveillance grid and medical system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he is right there in the middle of it and funding many of the major things. So I think, besides all the details, I think that's just important to recognize that, wait, almost all the major players in today's world have passed through the Epstein University.
Yeah, it's so far reaching and so many different corners of all this that's coming out in our lives. You talked about the surveillance, also just like, I even found some stuff on human cloning. I mean, it goes so many different directions. It's like, I mean, this is a window into a world that we've all been talking about, and now here it is on paper. And I think it's probably more just confirmation for all four of us, but still, it's like pretty amazing to see this actually being confirmed to us.
Even Bill Gates had to go to Epstein for money. Like, I mean, when he's asked about it in, the depositions or whatever, he's like, "Oh, I wanted to go and get more money for my, my causes," or whatever he does, his philanthropy. He needs more money for philanthropy. And then with the interview with Bannon, I guess, is where he says, "I represent the Rothschilds. I'm the Rothschilds guy." And so, like, it's right there, like, okay, and how much is connected to the Rothschilds, right? I mean, the state of Israel, the fiction of the state of Israel exists because of those guys. The whole thing that we live under, like the reality, it's sadly, they are the operators of the finance, and the finance is the lifeblood of, the energy of the planet. So it makes sense that he would be, and that they would give him whatever he wants. And this is like, what I think we found was a good look into the mind of the psychopath, to see really what he's doing, what he's talking about, and what they're, and just the stuff that they put in the email, what they're talking. "Oh, I love the torture video." Okay. And then, like, you see the artwork they've got, and you see the, so we kind of looked at it from some other angles. It's kind of not really boring, but to just read the files, because some of the stuff is like shocking and like, but so it's not boring for sure. But we kind of tried to make it a little more different, I guess. We would like use film and culture elements to show how it looks like. Look at it's real. This fiction stuff that we've been seeing. The first one that we looked at, Sallow, and talked. I mean, it is the same. Before we talked about Sallow, that's
a movie, right?
That's a Sallow, movie. Yeah. Or 120 Days of Sodom, and it was made in like 1977 or something. And the director died after it was completed. He was murdered. It was really bad. You should watch the episode. Watch the episode. Don't watch the movie. It's horrific. I mean, it's good photography. Anyway, whatever. We're not. But still, that movie was a reflection of what was being done. Like we were reading notebooks of the victims who had their babies taken, and premature inducing labor prematurely to steal the babies. And I mean, just horrific, like nightmare type stuff. And then when you see Sallow, it's like, oh, that's how they work. Look at their brains. Look at how they, they get excited for the smell of poop. Yeah, I mean, it's like their brains are fucking. Excuse my language. Their brains are backwards, like, fully broken, and so you can't relate. Like Sallow, you can't, like, you don't feel like, the victims are like distant, and you don't get to know their names and stuff. You don't become relating with any of the characters. It's just viewing from a distance, like, oh my god. That's what the Epstein Files was like. And then the Blink Twice movie, where there's the island with the rich guy, and they put all the women to sleep and rape them every night, and they lose their memory with scopolamine flowers, and all this stuff has been like in the media. We've been soaking in it, like they since Lolita, and that's going to be next week's episode. So I'm not going to really get into it. We'll talk about it next week. But really, like, the whole culture was built by Epstein's guy there, the guy with the Dubuque, the Les Wexner. Like, that guy, like, he had all of young girls were wearing pink, and they're freaking, the brand pink, and the the Limited, and like the Abercrombie, and all of them. It was like setting the horror culture. Like, they were changing women's heads, from all angles, and there's just so much. I guess I don't want to take up too much time, but still, like, it was good to get to look at the psychology of what they were doing to us, what they were, what they do, like how to, like, because it's tough for us to fathom such psychopathy. Oh, you love the torture video? Me too. Like, no, like, we can't. But so, like, that's why we have to look under all the rocks and really study it, because it doesn't make sense otherwise, unless you see all the pieces and then how they put together, and it's like, oh, of course, because until then, they're psychos. It does not make sense, Anyway, yeah.
Well, Sean, do you think that do you think these people are primary psychopaths, or are they secondary psychopaths that were, as children, brought into satanic ritual abuse and became psychopaths? Or, I mean,
yeah, even that is like, I think even that is trained into us through the trauma. I don't think, like, I don't know if I believe that there are actual natural psychopaths born that way. I think it's like a natural thing. The more I've studied it, the more it seems like it's a stepwise progression. You have to wear away your conscience, and that's what a lot of the SRA stuff with, if they do the SRA without the bonding, they can make a psychopath too. You know what I mean? So that torture also makes psychopathy as well as dissociation. Anyway, yeah, that was another series, Manchurian Candidate series we were doing before this.
I would just interject. One of the things, though, is that this is a fundamental value of certain segments of the elite, right? And you can call one thing we looked at too, there's a lot of occultic aspects, right? I mean, Epstein is, also engaged in sort of religious practices. If you worship Baal and, Sekhmet, whatever. But basically, we looked at the Hellfire Club too, and this ties directly into that. So there's a culture of impunity. There is a lifestyle. You could say there's epigenetic traits, right? So if someone has the trait of, you can do whatever you want, you dominate everybody, you can kill anybody you don't like, you could rape they used to have a tradition in Russia, and it was the first night, right? So the lord of the manor could, any wedding night, he could go sleep with the bride. Any bride he wanted to, he could sleep with on the wedding night. That was just that was a cultural thing, at least for a certain period of time. So I think that's also ingrained in this elite level. And in fact, it's intergenerational, and it becomes just part of the turf. So, I know we're maybe apples and oranges, or pears and bananas, but basically I think that you can see in certain elite families. Now, you can look in the past where you have the royalty and stuff, they really cared about the people, some of them, right? But then you have this whole stream of these really evil psychopathic people. I think it's sort of indoctrinated and trained in. It's based also upon this culture of supremacy over the planet and supremacy over the worms and the cattle that the rest of humanity is. And I think they're trying to get up to the top level. They may be indoctrinated. I mean, I think once, if you're hanging out with, who are those two brothers, forgot their last names, they're out there. They're part of the whole Epstein, sidereally Epstein network, date raping all these women.
Oh, Alexander brothers?
Yeah, Alexander brothers. You're hanging out with those guys. The first time you're hanging out with them, if you don't have some serious issues, then you have serious issues. But then you're thinking, oh, well, if I hang out with them, I do this, then I'm going to move up forward. So I think that there's a inductive process of conditioning for people that are brought into it. But even like Bill Gates comes from money, he comes from eugenics family. I think that these people are kind of like that. They're brought up that way. And again, it is epigenetic phenomena of you don't have compassion. Right. You're the king. I've met people, from royal bloodlines. They're different, right? Whether or not, however they grew up. So I'm just saying that I think it's endemic on this particular segment of the elite that is now, running roughshod, riding the crazy clown car off the edge of the abyss or trying to right now.
You got to wonder where the origin of that is from too. Like where did that come from way back? Like someone decided that they're just going to be this elite class and everybody else is just fodder, and that they can be that psychotic and think that way. That's a whole nother show probably, but
it's been since
anyway,
forever.
William, we haven't heard from you yet, but I just want to say that thanks everyone for coming in and listening, and a lot of people in the chat. So chat away.
Yeah. We have one of the best chats, in my opinion. A lot of smart people.
I know.
Chats.
Yeah.
It's good to be with all of you. Thanks for the invite, Leumas. Just to add to what these guys have said, it's like the insight, like it's seeing past the curtain, so to speak, or in this case, maybe the huge wooden doors of the Hell Mansion and the Upper East Side of Manhattan. But you kind of are able to see that, wow, these guys really are different. And they're ruthless, just like Hans said. And there's all kinds of things with Salo. Like, for me, Salo was such an extreme film, but now I see it as more truth-telling than it. I think it really is true. And I think Jeff was like that. He made fun of people. There was a girl praying to Jesus Christ, and they were joking about it. She said, everything's going to be okay from the abuse because Jesus loves me. And then one of the other guy jokes to Epstein, maybe next time you do it, you should dress up like Christ. And then Epstein laughs and says, whoops. So it's like almost like a deliberate mockery. And for people who don't know, we've done like 12 or 13 shows or episodes on different facets of the Epstein files. And it really is just opening it up into this whole world, this network. Because what we were told is that Jeff is just an independent pedophile. But there's just so many, you can call it a octopus or network or whatever, but there's just so many connections to everything, just like Hans said. And for me, like some of the stark things that are there is that I think I could prove that he is a cannibal, that they are eating people. There are weird code words like white tuna and jerky that aren't reflected in other things. He was very fastidious. He was like a rich jerk who wanted to have like almost like Psycho, like Bateman from Psycho, where he had specific like shampoo, conditioner, fastidious things that needed to be in the kitchen. But there's no mention of jerky in those like things to his those instructions to his staff, and he had it chef, but they're really fixated on jerky and white tuna, fresh white tuna or whatever. Which I've never heard tuna called white. So I do think he was somehow inducted into very dark stuff. Sometime he was brought in, I think, in his 20s, and that was what set him apart. He was always, there's a Bannon interview that's really important, 2 hours, where there's a lot of information, but he basically is telling Bannon the real power isn't these politicians. I was told by David Rockefeller and Kissinger that the real power is like these financial oligarchs, which is what Jeffrey was. And he's literally told at the end, Bannon asked him a question, what's it like moving money for some of the most evil people on earth? So he's not saying moving money for David Rockefeller, who's a real monster, the Rockefeller family, but like Jeffrey is around the Rothschilds, and there's Rockefellers too. But it's instructive that he knew these Rothschild families, which he's a representative of their $160 billion fund, and that he knew David Rockefeller is really incredible. But this occultism is there, and Hans and I and Sean have talked about this ending where Bannon's comparing him to Lucifer, and he says something really strange that a lot of other researchers have overlooked, and he goes, I'm not Lucifer, but I have a good mirror. And you can interpret that in much of ways. Either he's looking at himself as Lucifer, or he's contacting entities. He's scrying. He might be scrying. And there's a lot of mirrors in his like things. I have to go back through what I've seen because now I see it in a different light. But I do think Epstein. Sean and Hans and I have also talked about some of these books that he's had. Like he's had Tantra books and stuff from really hardcore OTO members. Like this guy, Craig, who's very well known. And I've seen his name pop up. And then another guy who I can't remember his name right now, but Sean has some copies of those books. So you see, there's definitely some interest in esotericism and things like that. The use of the word goyim and all this other stuff. So I think that that's kind of when there's actual literal ties to Eyes Wide Shut and stuff like that. And Sean and I did a show that I just stopped because I was like validating some of these stories. I think it was called Notes of a Dead Man. And they talked about cannibalism in 2020. So it's even before the Epstein files dropped. Like the final drop was January 2026. But so it's it's incredibly dark, and it's much darker than people knew, I think, before these. And one of the things also just to add and put in your mind is that Blanche, who was the acting attorney general, so this is the highest office in the land before he became the so-called acting attorney general. He came out with these files and said, we are keeping 2.3 million files. This is on record because of representations of child porn, torture, and death. So we haven't seen the totality. It's all been redacted. And I just want to share one of these ones with you guys because I think it shows how dark this is. These are code words. And this is Epstein. It's literally there. And you can see there, torture. I'm still waiting and watching the melted cheese drip. Smiley face. And people who know my work, smiley face has a couple different meanings. But he did a lot of streaming, and there's a lot of records of him streaming. But this is really dark. This is like child rape type stuff. That's what they're talking about here. And the drip is, I think, blood. So it's super bad. It's like really bad. That's like one of the, if you want to talk about some of the worst files, this is one of them.
Jeez. Wow. Are there any mentions that you guys found about any secret societies in particular mentioned that you think are linked to this? Was there ever any like indicator?
Ninth Circle.
Ninth Circle.
Ninth Circle.
Ninth Circle.
That's like the Vatican stuff.
Ooh, yeah.
It's a really, really dark secret society headquartered like in Europe. It involved a lot of these old families. Like it was, there was human sacrifices in Italy. Like girls disappeared into the Vatican. So it's kind of like some kind of European, and it's from an exchange between Bannon and Epstein. And they're like going back and forth, and they're talking about Dante's Inferno. And then all of a sudden they mention the Ninth Circle and stop. But there's Kevin Arnett has done tons of shows on the Ninth Circle. You can read about it. And there's also another one that was revealed in these things called, it was just a 12-man secret society that I don't think anybody had ever heard of. Super elite, and it was called the, not Equinox, it was some other word, I can't remember. But it was interesting that was brought up. The Zodiac, I think it was called the Zodiac.
Oh yeah, I read about that too.
Yeah. So that was one, and then some of these other occultists that I mentioned, they're heavy-duty OTO members. So he's reading books from guys who were totally networking Like the intro to one of those books is by Israel Regardie, who was literally Crowley's secretary. So you can see it tied from Crowley to Regardie to this author of the Tantra book to Epstein. And those are just some examples.
I would say that, in a certain way, like this is, you could say externalization of the hierarchy. It's almost like they don't need any secret societies now. But I would say primarily you're looking at Zabbatian type of things like Lorien, Jakob Frank. They infiltrated all, the Catholic schools, stuff like that. So they had people in prominent positions in society that were practicing members of, Lurana Kabbalah, either Zabbathezri or through Jakob Frank. And this is, again, redemption through sin, redemption through evil, etc. So, in a certain way that, of course, the Ninth Gate, someone mentioned that you see these old world European, occultism stuff there too. But, it may have been redacted, but I think that, again, it's almost like the networks are already built. And in a certain way, at a certain time, you would have to keep this stuff secret. I mean, think about this. I mean, this is pretty unimaginable in terms of the scope of this, massive scope, industrial scale, brutal abuse, and really, you have to look at this also. It's sort of like the rape gangs in London. It's also a form of genocide, right? You're taking these young, pretty girls, and they're they can have kids, but they're damaged. You're damaging people. You're killing them. So that's kind of part of it. Is this absolute hatred, and also the eugenics, in terms of like the smiley face killers, even though it's obviously not the same thing, but you're taking these beautiful girls that they're going to be ruined, right? I mean, maybe they'll I'm not saying they're not. I'm not trying to dismiss them, but I'm saying like they've been damaged. This will also be passed down to their children. Not, you know what I mean? So it's an absolute top level integrated approach. So, again, there was definitely temple. They have the occult temples. There's all the symbolism, but you walk in there, all the occultic symbolism, right, around him. And so it's almost like, again, he's here sitting like, a big giant Baphomet on top of the world saying, hey, it's like the paint, the paint store or whatever, pouring just all over the planet, even though, of course, he was one member of a much larger network. This in Maxwell's connection, of course, with royalty, with her father, who was a major media player as well as a Mossad agent, etc. So I think that it's a certain level where these architectures are now just they're in public. I mean, why isn't Bill Gates arrested? I mean, how many times has Trump met? Has anything happened to him? No. Right. These are things that would have brought down careers. And these people are still, most of them, a little slap on the wrist, but most people did not pay a penalty for being involved in this. And I'm sure there's many more people we even know.
Nobody paid for COVID either. No, yeah. Someone mentioned in the chat here, are there any ties to Mormons, LDS, and Utah? Did you guys get anything out of that?
Sean and I did that show. They mentioned the Romney family, but that's the Notes from the Dead Man. But nothing really overt, not on my end, about the LDS or Mormons.
They have a big influence here in Hawaii, and there's a lot of people tied into that here. I didn't realize that till more recently. I kind of never paid attention. What's this here?
This is the reference to the Zodiac Secret Society. So they're talking like Murray Gell-Mann would make a good candidate for the Zodiac. They do really cool stuff. Since they're very old, just dinners in exotic locations. There's 12 members. And then they mention a couple names here. Paul Volcker and Bob Peary and Tom Brokaw. So,
yeah.
That's interesting.
It is.
But yeah, there's one of the other interesting things, Sean mentioned this too, is this kind of trauma. He knew a lot about mind control. So all this stuff about amnesia and different mental states and good candidates, there are a lot of emails about that and individuals who knew this. So like it was kind of surprising to see that he was looking into this kind of stuff. And he literally had one about like, they should see my flowers. Like he was growing scopolamine, it seems like, at the Hell Ranch. which is remarkable. Like, I don't think I think it's a tropical plant. Like, what the hell is going on?
What plant is
Yeah, it's
this
native
one?
to Colombia.
It's
Scopolamine.
called devil's.
Is it the same? Oh, devil's trumpet.
breath.
Yeah.
Trumpet,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yep. We have that here too. Yeah, people use that. I have a friend who's in martial arts, and his sensei was evil, and he put one of those in his room to test his abilities, and he had nightmares. And it's a really toxic plant. That plant.
Super powerful.
Yeah.
Some people have like reactions like that reverberate for a long time. This is an interesting thing about Zorro Ranch from Hank Harrison, who's Courtney Love's dad, who literally was a road manager, I think, for the Grateful Dead. But he's like, the crimes are 10 times worse and 100 times more numerous and more degenerate than you can imagine. The New Mexico Zorro Ranch is bad. But when victims were worn out, they would simply be taken to the desert and buried, or taken to sea, weighted down and dumped overboard. The ones who survived are lucky to be alive. We are talking multiple slave murders here. Clinton did not pierce slaves. Trump did. Google me before you reject that comment. And it ties into somebody who we talked about in one of our shows. Her name was Rena O. And she kind of reflected some of the stuff that Han said about this wearing the women out. Like, she thought Epstein was trying to bring hell on earth, and just said just amazing stuff. And she was really horribly trafficked, but she used the exact word dissociate. So they were creating dissociative states in the victims, and definitely in Rena O's statement, that's what happened. She literally said, I don't want to get into too much trauma because I may dissociate. So she was conscious that she could go into a dissociative state, which is the foundation of traumatic mind control. It's really split brain stuff. And he was an artist. The other interesting thing is, like, people look at that temple and they're like, what is this temple? That temple is a reflection of a Mamluk temple where they would bring the slaves and wash them and prep them for distribution. So, like, it's literally referencing slaves, and it just referenced what Hank Harrison said. These people were treated like slaves. They were trafficked like slaves.
Yeah. It's this crazy, because these are all like the people in our society have this authority figures. Like, these authority figures, they have the appeal to authority fallacy in their head. Like, oh, we must listen to the judge. We must listen to the police commissioner. We must listen. These are all people that are involved in this. Like, it's a whole network of people that people put up on a high pedestal in these positions that have no interest in humanity at all, and they're complete psychopaths. And that's who runs our world. And that's maybe it needs to be hammered home more to people that still believe in the system.
That's for sure. I mean, everybody that you thought was cool is, going to visit the island or whatever. I mean, Noam Chomsky, the guy in the wheelchair there, the physicist. I mean,
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah,
right?
Thomas Crick. Crick was the guy founder of DNA.
Yeah.
Minsky, who was influenced 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Right.
Was,
Cybernetics guy.
for cybernetics too. Yeah.
Macy conferences.
At least in the UK, the cops display the Masonic checkerboard. Yeah, they do. And in Australia too, you see on their hats, they have the checkers. That's a good link there in the chat there.
They're binding their brains.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus, isn't it the shape of the hat, like Passio talked about?
Yeah, it's a black octagon, and the octagon is a 2-dimensional representation of the 4-dimensional tesseract, which represents mind control, and it's capping their crown chakra. It goes on and on. But yeah, that's
the other thing. There's like tesseracts at Little St. James. So people would be staying in these rooms, and it's like Rosemary's Baby or Eyes Wide Shut. They'd literally be within a box within a box. Like, come on in and party. Now you're in my control, guys. Total control.
Yeah, it is interesting, though. I think the scale of this network, I think, of course, the blackmail must be considered, right? And this is coming off of Roy Cohn's network, right? Trump's mentor. My favorite next to the Trumpy bear picture is Trump wearing the cod piece. He's wearing he's dressed like a Greek, wearing a cod piece, hanging out with a royal cone. This like little lizard, slimy lizard dude. And it's a young Trump looking pretty buff, pretty hot there, Donnie. But have you ever seen that? He's on a yacht. So Trump was, that was his mentor, right? And Roy Cohn was the guy blackmailing Herbert Hoover, right? So, I mean, he had the hotel room. They come in and he's hosting the parties, and all the secret, pansies. I'm sorry, wrong word. The secret. Okay, I don't want to get whatever. You know what I mean. Light in the loafer. But they would all be videotaped at this thing, including Herbert Hoover, and then Roy Cohn could access the entire blackmail network of the FBI, and the mob, etc. So the video and audio recording, I think that is also part of it. I think the blackmail component, but it does seem that it looks like everyone says, oh, these people are forced into do things. I don't think anybody forced Bill Gates. He was loving it. I mean, all these people, Tom Hanks, not Oprah, please, not Oprah. She changed my life.
She's bad too.
Oh God!
How
about her girls' school?
We'll tell you about it.
Look at her girls' school. But so all these people, I mean, I think it's like a club. I mean, I think with the video and audio surveillance, there was a lot of that, and I think that certainly was part of it. But the scale of it and the depravity of it, and the fact that this went on for decades without being stopped, and that everybody, even who had their finger touching it, is not, wearing a barrel, begging for money or playing guitar on the street corner. No, they're all still billionaires, right? So I think it represents a real decline of the world in a certain way. I mean, it's you watch Sallow, you see the reality. Like, it's one thing to read these things. If you see that movie, you get a sense of what they were actually doing. You know what I mean? And the way they were doing it, and insatiable appetite, right? Insatiable appetite. Thousands and thousands of girls. And these are people we're supposed to look up to, I am Stephen Hawking's. No, he doesn't talk like that, right? Sorry.
Keep in mind, so what did Hoover have in his documentation? We were reading that the beginning of the year with the Manchurian Candidate series, where all of that grok breaking the legs and making the mind control victim out of trauma, all of that was given to Hoover in the 1920s. And then he's dancing at the party with Roy Cohn in his dress, and they're like, hey, you know anything about mind control? I'd be like, oh, well, guess what? I got all this. Boom. You know what I mean? Like, so all of that SRA stuff is all there, and they're playing with that too, all the Kathy O'Brien and all those other, all those stories that we hear about government slaves and government mind control women and all of that. It's the same as what Rena O was going through, where they were grooming her to be a magnificent artist, and they were giving her finishing school basically, and they're paying for college, and they're creating this perfect, Stepford wife basically. It's like an artist and knows about history and all this stuff, and just like Melania was created, and given to or sold to or whatever. That there's levels of slave. There's the ones that he gets from the high school girls that are just going to get their friends for $200, but then there's also the level of what Rena O and Alice from Eyes Wide Shut, or Melania, or the rest of them, and just look at how Melania comes to the podium and starts speaking up. I had nothing to do with Epstein. Really, dude? Just protest too much, So I think that there's a lot to be said about that too, and plus they weren't only making women, they were making, the Twitter guy there, Elon, didn't come from nowhere. You know what I mean? Even Trump didn't come from nowhere. These people there's generations of, And where did Epstein come from? What's Epstein's family, and who have they always worked for the Rothschilds? Like, we need to look into that next, I think, because there's probably a lot there.
I've always thought
people.
Right. I've always thought they've built these people behind the scenes and like, okay, well, we're going to make you head of Microsoft. You're going to create the idea of the inventing something in their garage, like some like guy in his garage makes a computer, or even that's the story of like, isn't that the story of even Phil Knight with Nike too? I believe he built the shoes in his garage, right? Or just like.
Meanwhile,
these people were chosen. Yeah,
chosen. It was his mother. It was his mother who was like leading United Way, and she was on the board of United Way with the guy who owns IBM. And he was like, "Oh, we're thinking about doing some computers." She's like, "Well, my son can do that for you." And he's like, "Okay." Boom. There you go. That's how it happened. And his dad was in Planned Parenthood, and like they've got, his grandparents were on the board of the Federal Reserve Bank of Seattle. Like, I mean, it goes like way back. Like these people have been. Yeah. It's in like the infestation is, and they've always been as evil as Epstein is, and as evil as Salo is. And when you hear what Mark Passio talks about with like the full-on Satanists wearing robes, like doing ritual of evil. Yeah, same guys. Like he saw Ben Bernanke at one, so like, and now like we've been learning all this stuff, and now it's like, holy shit, it's all there. It all makes sense. And like, so yeah, the everybody should go back to the Manchurian Candidate series and learn about that document that William brought to the table, 500-page document from G.H. Estabrooks with Hoover, and they're talking, and it goes over generations talking about mind control through trauma, and could they make somebody that would kill and not even know that they killed, like a Manchurian Candidate. And so this whole thing of making a woman who will give her body to whoever asks for it with the proper code, it's the same kind of building of a person, it's just a different gender. Yeah, there you go. Melania's Inanna Star, right? Thank you.
Just went to her website. I literally took this screenshot while Sean was talking because I wanted to bring this up. This is the Ishtar site. I actually used the Ishtar star because it's on the island as the thumbnail for this episode. But it like pops up. This is it. It's Ishtar. She's literally selling it for $90. And the Christmas ties into Eyes Wide Shut, which is in the background. It's a really potent symbol of Eyes Wide Shut because it's never mentioned. It's ever present. It's ubiquitous of these trees and the lights and Christmas time, but nobody cares anything at all about Christmas.
You see that UFO in the UFO files? There's like something shaped like that, right?
Yeah, it looks
maybe
like
they're telling you something.
Yeah,
because it's one of the biggest psyops of all time. Is this whole disclosure stuff.
And that's the Queen of Heaven, the Mother Goddess, like that's Mother Mary for the Catholics. It's Tanit for the Phoenician and the Catholic, for the Phoenicians and the sea power. Yep. There we go. There she is.
That's it. Yep.
This is from Sean's superb work on Eyes Wide Shut. We've done 4 hours, guys. You can get a whole breakdown of all this Ishtar and Inanna stuff. I mean, it's really the best out there. Yeah.
Definitely go listen to those episodes.
This is all about perspective. They're telling you this is who she is. This is what Kubrick's doing with her occulting the Ishtar time.
And the Ishtar, Inanna, that's the sacred whore, the whore of Babylon, that rides the beast. So it's the same. And so the whores of Inanna were young maidens that were given to the cult as hookers, and that's that was what was being depicted. That's what Epstein was creating. you know.
And that's what Reno said, that he was going to be the Sultan, and he was literally bringing slaves and doing all this stuff and creating them. And I've done shows where like he's grooming girls for Pornhub and getting them all dressed up, and I think in his homes he had kind of advanced skincare like equipment, kind of like you would like I don't know, I don't go to skincare, but you have little things that can take blackheads away and all this stuff, like literally almost like a dentist chair type stuff. And I mean, even his dentist chair room that's in the island looks like something that's not used for dentistry. Like I don't know if they're like
the
breeding
masks.
the kids or masks. Like no dentist office would have decor like that. So like, what are the masks doing there? Like
And those were masks of people,
right? It looks
who
exactly
were
like
abusers. Right. So it scares the kid that's there. It's like, and the kid's on drugs, and he sees that face, you know, and
yeah, it's super dark. I think they were involved in the darkest stuff imaginable, guys.
I think that symbol is also in Game of Thrones in the background a lot. Is it?
Probably.
I think it is. I'd have to see that.
It's you know, the Wonder Woman, that's her symbol, you know, she's got it on her helmet and she's got it on her chest and shit. She's the goddess, you know. They do it a lot. It's there a lot.
Sorry to cut you off, Hans.
Oh, no problem. I probably cut you off. But one of the things, as I was saying, that, you know, even the secret societies, first thing I say, like recruitment. So Epstein, based on his personality profile, he was a uber perv sex addict from the drop with no morality, right? So he was he's like ready-made. Now, I think what made Epstein's career was his personality. And, you know, probably he was relatively charming, reasonably intelligent. Maybe he's a genius. I don't know. But basically, other people like Mark Zuckerberg, one of his girlfriends, talks about him being actually mind controlled. So he was programmed to take that role. Right. So we have a variety of these things. Of course, then we have the stories like, you know, Bill Gates stealing basically the whole Microsoft. He had a a couple $100,000 trust fund for the rest of his life. He never had to work his whole life, right? So he didn't come out of the, scrappy entrepreneur. No, they stole it, right? And just like Zuckerberg stole Facebook to put it in the right hands, right? So this is there. And then there is blackmail. It's also keeping people in control. Maybe there's lines people don't want to cross. Here you go. You know what I mean? And also it's an initiatory process to lead people into this. You want to go to this level. Here's what you're doing. Here's what we're doing. We're going to go, drink blood tonight. We're going to go, whatever, we're going to go play the most dangerous game. We're going to, we're going to go, at the Zorro Ranch. I mean, these are kind of things they do. And certain people embrace it, certain people maybe, and if you don't cross some of these thresholds, they're also initiations, right? They're also type of occultic initiations. Obviously, you'll get whacked or you'll lose everything if you don't, once you reach a certain stage, you can't go back. And that's the whole point of this, right? And then the final point I want to make is that, so like the secret societies, like Masons, you have Illuminati, etc. This was important. Right. The Illuminati and the Freemasons were, Russian Revolution and the French Revolution, et cetera, et cetera. Very, very important up to a certain point. Now, again, as I mentioned, the Alice Bailey externalization of the hierarchy, they're doing things. They're sending texts and emails about cannibalism. It's not that hard to figure it out. Right. I mean, this is not like, they're not writing in some heavy duty cryptographic language. This is common terms that are used, and they're doing it basically brazenly in public. And the occultic stuff is also there if you know what to look for on the surface, right? So I think it's kind of like we can now take the mask off and assume total control of the planet, and get how everyone got their new vaccine, because Epstein was part of developing that, which is great.
Yeah, there's emails between him and Gates, and also the guy Wolf from Metabiota, literally saying, let's get together and plot together. Like, they're literally plotting like 7 or 8 years before the jab rollout.
Yeah.
bubble, bubble, toil and trouble. You know, like witches at their cauldron.
He's constantly plotting, and goes back to Rena O. Like he was trying to bring hell on earth. I do, like upgrading testosterone and downgrading all this stuff, and talking to people about how manipulating the human species and the new species of man. Like I've done the shows on Trivers, who passed away, but like that's what they're talking about, like a new species. And like even me growing up at my age at 57, like. The men are like, where are these people know? Like they're like in between a man and a woman. Like what the heck's going on? It wasn't like that. It wasn't
I don't think that COVID could have happened with 80s men, like or 90, even 90s men. Like there was more. I grew up around a lot of testosterone fights, and just it was like you had to be a real man. And now, I don't think they could have got away with what they did in 2020 had we not been men not been downgraded. You know, this is definitely by design. Something happened there. Something happened to people. It almost felt like it was unstoppable.
Food additives, that's a big part of it. And I've got stuff back from the 40s and 50s talking about this. They have their hermaphrodite, whatever tadpoles. Why? Because of the stuff they're putting in the food that kills testosterone, right? They're in multiple additives that actually do that, even including shampoo. Don't use tea tree oil. You know, it's going to shrink your balls, actually. So tea tree oil shampoo, if you're using that, unless you're planning on transitioning, I wouldn't recommend it. But seriously, I mean, the food additives have had a huge impact on this. I mean, to the point where it's impacting the natural world, and you can trace this also even within the vaccination schedule, et cetera, but I say primarily food, certain medicines and healthcare products, even also including cleaning stuff, you know, kitchen cleaner, this and that. I mean, you can find these agents all over the place.
Microplastics.
Yeah, but I'm talking about things that, the microplastics, thousands of, different things.
Endocrine
that's part of it.
disruptors.
And that's what he was talking about also. You know, you want your slave population to be in a certain way, right? You want to engineer yourself to be like the Superman, King of Babylon, whatever, Adam Kadam, God of the universe. But then you want your slaves, you want the women to be hot, you want the men maybe either strong with no brain cells or just gone, awesome, right? Or just and literally, and they're doing it through psychological technologies, through indoctrination, through the education system. Even you can see this psychology like, oh, you have to be a nice guy. Just say, okay, all right, it's good. This stuff was also conditioned, right? I mean, but if you add the chemical factor, then you add the push towards becoming, whatever, homosexual or transgender, then that creates a social impetus. So it's really a massive push that has been done. I mean, okay, maybe they didn't know, but it sure seems like they did. And they got exact systemic output that you want from those inputs.
Well, then there was the actual scientist that was talking about growing humans that were females that had penises. And he was a total.
That was Trivers.
Yeah, total psycho. Talking about the best of both worlds. Like
right. He was joking about it. You could in a sexual way too, right?
Yeah, and saying that that we know that it's the best of both worlds because of how many hits are on Pornhub or whatever for chicks with dicks. So like, just because all the clicks, that means that everybody really wants that. So we're just going to create that. And that's basically, science was like, that's what I want.
These guys are super dark, man. For people who haven't seen this is the Star of Ishtar on the island. And this you don't know what's going on, like whether this gets decorated. Like, I think we've seen the stripped down version of the island, because it seems like he was a lot like Gilles de Rais, where they would bring stuff in and create kind of festive, more environments, so you just see them without these kind of like the dramas. And the thing Sean and I read said that the euphemism for their kind of hellfire parties was like going to the theater or doing stuff like that. So they had more code words for this, but this is just a stripped down Ishtar symbol right here.
Yeah, which direction does that point to?
I guess east. The east, there's the E on the top. I don't know.
And remember, I think we played one of the conferences he put on talking about bodyoids, right? Remember the bodyoids? These are human beings with no brains that are bred just to be using for organ harvesting. Bodyoids.
Sweet.
But there's no ethical. They talk about ethical questions. No ethical questions. I mean, so that's a level that they're looking at.
Maybe when they get reincarnated, they can be reincarnated as a bodyoid and be harvested. Maybe they can feel what that's like.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, real justice.
Do you guys find any reference to the spraying, the chemtrails, anything like that? And is there ever, you guys ever come across anything like that in the files?
I did not.
No.
No, actually,
Yeah.
no.
It wouldn't surprise me though.
No, it wouldn't. Yeah.
They use all these code words and fronts. I mean, one of the interesting things about Epstein is how Byzantine and vast his financial environment was. Like, he had trusts and front corporations and all kinds of things. So, and with code words and stuff like that. So you don't really know exactly what was going where and things like that. So it was a way to I think, shield himself and hide what his activities were.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is, huh? So where's this information going? Like, is anyone doing anything with it? I mean, is it even on the lips of people anymore? Or are they like, is this yesterday's news? And I mean, I'm kind of out of the loop with like what regular people talk about and think. You guys probably are too a bit, but I don't know.
I can tell you from personal experience, like when I posted Epstein stuff that nobody's ever seen, my hits on Twitter went crazy, because I saw some pictures that weren't readily available. And then I also have done a survey on YouTube and some of these shows people are doing on Epstein, and they're getting huge amounts of traffic, 500,000 million views, a lot of this recent stuff. So I think Epstein will be a topic of public interest for a while now.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. Yeah. I mean, I just don't hear anybody talking about any of this. But then again, I don't hang around that many normies that often. But it just seems like it just needs to be like on the surface. Everybody needs to be talking about it because it's the window into the dark world we've all been talking about for years. And here it is. Here it is.
It really is. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like his impact upon culture. Like he was financing people, financing Lolita researcher, all kinds of people. I want to finance you. I want to finance stuff in video games where they're showing naughty kid stuff. I want to finance this guy in an art show called Statutory, where it's not clear how old the child is, so that somebody could potentially be arrested. Like, he's literally deliberately putting jail bait out to put people in jail. Like, it's incredible stuff. One of the other interesting things that's come to my attention recently is like this whole story of like people being targeted and being hit with directed energy weapons. This is an investigator in New Mexico who's bailing out of the United States because she thinks she was hit twice with some kind of directed energy. So these kind of urban legend things of like people being harassed electronically, we've done a lot of that stuff on the Manchurian Candidate. And what's his name? It's not Dulles, it's Helms. Richard Helms is involved in like non-lethal control methods. And this woman literally said that like she was hit with something like that. And this is May 26th. It's not that long ago, 2026. And this is this is at the ranch. This is like ranch stuff. But it is an interesting statement she made. So this is like validating in real time that somebody does not want this information to come out and maybe using these kind of like social control techniques to not necessarily kill, but intimidate and make it difficult to investigate.
They were just talking about voice to skull recently. technology. Someone was that released in the MK Ultra release. It's MK Ultra files now, I guess. They were talking about voice to skull. I remember seeing that a couple times, where voice of God they call it or something, that where they can, if you're standing in a certain place, they can make it sound like in your head, your own voice talking.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to mention that's been around. That was discovered in the 50s, and so there were billboards in Times Square, New York City, like 50, 20 years ago, where you would hear the advertisement in your head, right? Because the billboard was broadcasting using voice to skull technology. All this stuff, I mean, has been out there. I mean, directed energy weapons, I mean, even basic frequency, right? You mean the stuff of the infrasound. Yes. This article I'm doing on AM radio. So in 1885, this guy was using directed radio waves to blow up gunpowder, to fry stuff in 1885, directed energy waves in 1885. Okay.
Wow, dude.
So
would you come to Wake the Dead and talk about that radio stuff with me sometime in our audience? That's great.
Yeah.
Come on my show first though.
Okay, Dan.
I do. Yeah, I got FM radio too. But so these things, in directed energy weapons, of course, you have basic infrasound, right? Infrasound is that it's inaudible. Like elephants communicate with infrasound; they can communicate for thousands of miles and stuff. But infrasound, all these different frequency ranges, and these are gradients. You can have one frequency range, boom. That's what the whole hemisync hemisync works off of, or supposedly works off of, but you get one, you feel bliss, change it a little hair. They used to call the brown note, right? Because you can play that in with certain instruments, you can approximate it to brown.
I think there's a South Park episode about the brown note.
Okay.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. But then you can go from that to panic, fear, and stress, anxiety, to death, right? All this stuff, and this stuff now, especially say with the 5G infrastructure, because the main thing is these extremely low frequencies, the ELFs take a lot of energy, right? You got to push a lot of energy out to get. But so this stuff has been around for a long time, and to what extent it's being used. Well, this is the thing with the Epstein files. We see things that people thought this is the most whacked out conspiracy theory. Pizzagate. Everything is there. It is a smorgasbord. So full validation, right? So all the kooks, put on your tinfoil hat, no. In fact, aluminum foil, but tinfoil will not. Anyways, but it does protect from electromagnetic spectrum to a certain degree. But the thing is that, we are surrounded by this, and the fact is that these things can be turned on. In fact, I have noticed. If you notice it, you can notice. Most people were maybe not that aware. I was the other day. My wife and I were hanging out. I had this real sense of like super irritation. Like I had a chip on my shoulder ready to fight. She said, I feel the same way. And I said, wait, why are we both feeling, and we're encountering other people feeling the same thing? Is there any causal factor in my environment? No. Am I usually irritated? No. So, and it was a strong, and I realized, wait, this is come. Okay. However, it's coming, but you can put subtle states. You can put a state of generalized aggression, anxiety, fear, even whatever it may be. And you can do this to a crowd very, very easily, so this stuff is out there, and this is the kind of thing they're working on. And
I think I showed that clip of that audio weapon. Do you guys remember that? Didn't I show that one in Serbia where the whole crowd just split right there?
Yeah, they've got that in America now. The crowd.
Is it a sound weapon or no?
Yeah, sound weapon.
It
makes it like painful to stand in that. I think it makes you sick or some shit.
Well, I might as well tell it since he's not around anymore. But the filmmaker, I don't know if any of you guys remember, Michael Murphy. He did a couple of documentaries. The What in the World Are They Spraying and Why in the World?
Yeah.
I helped host some screenings for him back in like 2011 here and around that time period. And he told me that he was attacked by some kind of electromagnetic weapon because he was kind of spearheading that whole thing in that particular time. Like he was like, he was kind of like pushing the envelope. He wanted to go up there and get a sample of the stuff. And and yeah, he passed away. But anyway, yeah, he did tell me that, and back then I was like, oh, okay, I guess, but yeah, they've had this stuff for a while, and they can target individuals for sure.
I've had Eric Karlstrom on my show 8 times. We've done some great shows about like reevaluating American history in light of like MK Black Ops and stuff, but he's like in the TI network, and they're becoming more true to me over time. Like at first glance, I'm like, okay, whatever. But then you start reading, you start seeing consistencies and stuff like that. I think I played this video for you guys in the past, but this is the Serbian. That's the Serbian sound weapon. Let me go. It's like they shot something down the center of that crowd and they all got out of there.
Kind of makes you wonder if it's similar to the kind of thing that causes, like the people at 9/11 that were tearing their clothes off and jumping out the building. It doesn't happen from jet fuel. Right.
Well, all those windmills that go up everywhere, they all put infrasound out. They cause infrasound.
Oh, they do?
There's a town. Yep. There's a town on this island that's trying to get some removed because they put them too close to the houses, and it's causing them to have, like sleeping problems, like insomnia from the infrasound. So it's interesting that those are going up everywhere, all over part of the.
Just to follow up, I've been trying to get off grid, and when I'm off grid, there's something in my like the subtlety, like underconscious or something that goes to it drops. So it's something about being around all this 5G or the cell towers or something, or whether it's my Wi-Fi. I don't even know what it is. Maybe all of the
smart
above.
Meter.
Yeah, all of it.
I'd say it's D, all of the above. Yeah.
I think we're being influenced by these barely unperceptible waves that may keep people insomnia and break up the rhythm, the circadian rhythm, and all that stuff. So I encourage people to get off grid as much as possible and get a Faraday box or bag for your phone for sure.
Get you an island, and and get you, learn how to drive a submarine and traffic some shit. No, I didn't say that. But yeah, we're getting away from Epstein. I just don't want to bring it back a little bit.
It's still connected, but just one last thing on the cell phone. So you can look at these technologies, right? So even the 5G, there's other frequencies that are much better, that have huge range, that can hold way more data, but they have to pick a frequency that is literally operates right at the same waves of the brain, right? And in fact, this frequency of 5G, it kills life, right? It literally kills things. It kills organisms. But they picked frequencies that, in fact, the 5G frequency was originally classified for military use. And so in fact, again, because of the choice of frequency range requires all these tons and tons of transmission towers, right? So there's so their frequencies were chosen on the fact that they are literally neuroreactive, and our brains we are electromagnetic, electrochemical beings, and our brains operate on frequencies, and these frequency wavelengths, and even an individual cell phone, right? With the technology now, and this is one of the things AI can do that Epstein was a big part of AI. You got the person's location. You can just little tweak, little ping of the signal going to that phone. It's going to be emitting a particular frequency range, right? They can cause, it depends on how aware the person is. Most people will not know that they're being influenced in the subtle way, because you're going to get a mood, you're going to get a feeling, you're going to get something, but it's like a mood. It's a background. Right? You may have that all the time. You don't even know. You talk about going off grid. You may have this noise. There's a noise frequency, and because it's all on the frequency the brain operates on, so literally is a noise frequency.
What you got to do is you got to have a large number of 15, 16-year-old girls give you massages all day. That gets rid of that. feeling it. Anyway, sorry. Just
That's
trying to
what-
get back to
Well, just to follow up with you, Sean, is that I think that there's good evidence that he was a sex magician, and that's what he's doing.
right.
That's why he's a so-called sex addict. It's that he's doing the whole thing where you like reach
Tantra. Right.
tantra climax and you say what your will is. You're supposed to give that power to it. So there were stories where like he's trying to get there. Like, so it's just weird. He's not doing it because he's that horny. That's my thing.
Right. He's stock trading and stuff on the phone while it's happening. Like some of them were talking about like, it's weird. While it was happening, he's coming to the arrival and he's calling, making business decisions, and he's doing that kind of. She thought it was crazy, but it makes sense to us because we read the occult books.
Right. So he's reading those occult books, that Tantra book. Whose author I can't remember. But yeah, so it makes me think that he's like, you don't kind of trip and know that information. You have to kind of either be exposed to it or somebody tells you about it. So that's interesting. The guy's name is jeez.
Kind of reminds me of the Wolf of Wall Street movie. And the McConaughey character is like lecturing the guy and telling him about how he's got to jerk off more, and like, I jerk off 50 times a day. He's tired, he's like eating food, he's doing cocaine, and like it's silly, but it fits now that we think about it.
Because he's a Wolf of Wall Street. That's what he is.
Right,
Christopher S. Hyatt is the guy's name. Christopher S. Hyatt he had one of his books, Ecstasy Through Tantra, and Donald Michael Craig. Like, he had those books. Like, I'm going to try to see if I can find a video of Christopher S. Hyatt, but he's really something else.
Did Epstein have kids? If so, where are they? Or children? Yeah. Did he? I don't know.
Jerky.
He kept telling women he wanted to have kids.
They're at the barbecue.
Maybe he ate them.
Right. All three of us made that joke. I said jerky. He said barbecue. That's funny, man. Wow.
Wouldn't that be like the ultimate like sin? Is like, I want you to have my baby, and then I'm going to sacrifice and eat it, dude.
Just like Kronos. Kronos, Saturn eats his babies. I mean, that's their big thing. They love that. And anyway,
but it seems to be something all over the world with, like in the ancient days, like the Mayans sacrificed, the Hawaiians sacrificed, and there's some connection with that these dark people love, so it's very ancient.
They sacrificed to the goddess with the 8-pointed star, or to Tanit,
Right. This is the guy that he had his book. This is Hyatt, but like, he's literally known as an occultist, and there's the universal hexagram. But like he initiated this. Non-Milo Duquette is a huge Crowleyite. So he initiated Hyatt into the OTO. That's really crazy. Oh yeah. So Miller's interested. His real name is Miller, but he met Israel Regardie, and Israel Regardie is like Crowley's secretary. So you can kind of tie like this connection from Crowley to Epstein.
Why don't people dress like that anymore? Everybody's all frumpy with their pants hanging down.
Yeah, I've seen those comparisons of people, what they look like in those days compared to now. It's or everyone's all obese now. Everybody was skinny back in like even the 70s.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And all the young women are wearing the pink and their freaking thongs out and all that stuff. That's Les Wexner right there. The Dybbuk from his, the evil demon in a box probably just like whispered to Les Wexner, they can pull their thong strings up. Like, like that was a whole thing in like the early 2000s. They were all, man.
I had it
all under mind control.
Traumatic experience. I saw a video of Madonna. She's wearing the world's shortest skirt and she's not wearing anything underneath it.
Ew.
And walking out of a hotel in Paris. So literally, it's just right there, right? I didn't want to see it. I'm trying to forget it. But the thing is, you look at how the girls are dressing. I mean, they're gonna start doing that now too. So it's really, Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I'm surprised like what women are wearing these days. But maybe pleasantly surprised sometimes. But but Madonna, I mean, whoa,
This is modern day Madonna you're talking about? Like
just like a week ago, and her new video,
80-year-old.
she's got the light coming out of her from between her legs. Have you seen the music video? Well, yeah, I mean, she's walking around, and there it is for all to see.
Man, she's really trying to stay relevant. Everybody, look at it.
My friend he was like from Chicago. He's a filmmaker. He's like, hey, would you sleep with her? I said, no way. It's no way. I don't care. I mean, I don't even know what amount of money I would not touch Madonna. No way, dude. Sorry.
And then imagine trying to sleep next to it after.
I mean,
sleep? No.
you'd be demonically possessed for the next 20 lifetimes.
Oh,
man.
think about all the demons she's got. Oh man,
her body count is thousands in her body count.
All the things that she willingly participated in. Anyway, so we're getting off of Epstein, but she's in the ilk. She belongs, in this conversation.
Yeah, but maybe we should start wrapping it up a little bit.
Okay.
What are some of the most important things to glean? What did it teach you guys? Did it just say, "Hey, this is just happening. We already knew it. It's just confirmation," or what? Did you guys find anything that was just like that just blew my mind, or was it just all pretty much just confirmation of what we've been talking about for years?
It blew my mind that nothing is happening. Nobody's doing anything about it. Everybody's still getting paid. Nobody's getting any justice. There was, I'm an anarchist, so I don't really care for all this, all the mind control that it is. But the people, they want to cling to their illusions of what this, we need them. I saw a podcast, or it was like a video of one of the victims who I think it was, maybe it was Virginia Giuffre. She was talking about how maybe I'm wrong. One of the victims was talking about how Bondi said that if we gave the names and let everybody see what's in the Epstein files, the whole government would crumble. It would just fall apart. And this victim was so mad to see that all the people would rather have their precious government than to get justice. And that's what we see. And also they're rubbing our face. They're just shoving in our face. And what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? The more we do nothing, the more they're like, you see, who's the boss? Just like a bully on the playground, they're showing us that we are weak, helpless, because we don't do anything, and that we shouldn't demand justice. It gives learned helplessness, In a sense, it's grokking. We are the grok clown, getting our morale, like our sense of like this world being a good place is like being whacked and smashed in front of us. Like we can't hold the illusion of like they're good people, and now we know they're bad people. And the cognitive dissonance is still going. We're still going to vote. Still going to like, oh, whatever. Like everybody, like, does anybody remember what the Gaza's still happening? Like they're still killing. And I mean, Ukraine is still happening. And people just like, well, what are you going to do? Guess we're just going to vote harder next time. So it really, it was surprising to me that it, like, even in other countries, people are losing their jobs. They're getting put on trial. Like, the Prince, what's his face, is having trouble. Like he no longer part of the
Andrew?
Andrew, yeah, like he lost a bunch of titles and had to lose his leg. He had to go move to some summer home or something. I don't know, whatever. But he has no more power with the government because he was loose with the information, and that's what he really got in trouble for. It wasn't for diddling children, but that's how they put him in jail. Really, like Dennis Hastert was a finance stuff. It wasn't really. So there really is no justice, and so it's kind of confirming to me that what I always suspected, that it wasn't going to do anything, but now I don't know. That was the big thing for me, I guess.
I feel exactly the same. Like that's the thing. It's just the same thing I feel about COVID, is that no one paid for COVID and they all just got away with it, and it's still happening. Like it's honestly just, I can't even believe we got on with life and act like it was normal. And so, yeah, I feel exactly the same. It's that part is pretty discouraging. But did I ever have faith in the system? Not in most of my years of my life. So I guess, I'm not that surprised. But yeah. Well, William, what did you
I would say, to add to Sean's, like with the big giveaway, they're all involved in the network. Thiel, Kushner, Gates, Lutnick, Trump, they're all in there in a very dark way. The stories about Trump are not good at all. And so I think that's kind of one of the insights. They all deflected, and they all had fake stories. I haven't talked to him since 2005, told him to get off of this. It's all a bunch of transparent nonsense. Trump's kids were with Epstein in 2018. So like right before he dies in 2019. The other thing is, I could confirm to me the information in the files that they put him in jail to murder him, much like Brunel. So I think it's very small chance that he committed suicide. And it really, the stuff about the MCC, I've done whole shows on that. And it contradicts the public statements. So all these public statements about Epstein are like fake. Bannon, fake. Bannon's also involved too. And he presents himself as a Christian too. So he's a Christian to the public. And a lot of his base and people who listen to the War Room are Christians. But this guy's not acting like a Christian with Epstein. Epstein is a freaking cannibal, occultist, doing all kinds of financial skullduggery. People are dying, treated like slaves. He has weird planes that the back opens up like a Bond villain, so they can chuck bodies or drugs out. Like, why do you have that specific plane? Like, the stuff they were up to and got away with is incredible. People mentioned Promise earlier, I think Hans did, and that was Maxwell's dad. Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was involved in that. Robert Maxwell. And literally, Epstein says in there that Robert Maxwell was offed, like something like that. He was ended. So, like, he seemed to know that Maxwell had an untimely end. And I think that was kind of a message, like, you don't turn on the group, you don't turn on the network. And that's what Robert Maxwell rumored to have done, is that he's like, I'm going to expose you guys for stuff. He apparently tried to call in some chits, and then he ended up drowned. So I think that's really, they're all in on it. Like, and it's global. It's the Rothschilds and all these other people. You say that it's a blackmail. It is blackmail, but they're blackmailing each other, I think, because they're all involved in all kinds of super dark stuff. And it's literally modern. It's modern sex trafficking, slavery. Neo-slavery is probably a better term. And then these women are either destroyed or monitored. Even Rena O said she feels like she's being monitored today. So in 2026, and she's smack dab in the middle of the story, and she's in Virginia Giuffre's biography as a participant 20 years ago. So this stuff is still the network is still out there. One of the things you have to understand is that there's a massive cover up. The redactions were not like some guy at a table. Like the way it's presented through Blondie is that she had stuff on her desk and they're working on it. Once Trump came into office, the Justice Department hired 500 people to go to an office and paid them overtime to redact everything over and over, like overtime and all this stuff. They've spent $10 million So it's a cover up. And there's literal instructions from the FBI. Somebody mentioned in the chat I saw. Redact things from presidents, former past presidents, and celebrities. So we don't even know all the facts. Like the stuff that's unredacted is really bad because they use code words. And the guys who were doing the redactions thought that, okay, he really likes jerky. They didn't understand, or maybe they let stuff slip through. But it's just a massive cover up, and it's a huge scandal. And like people, like you guys said, it would destroy the government, like Sean said. And these people are very dark and very evil. They're very capable of getting us into slog and a never-ending war in the Middle East that we can never extract ourselves from. And I really think, like, people need to understand. They don't understand basic causation, but when you try to fight and overthrow somebody's government, people get angry. And the American people can't figure out that the government that they have are the ones doing it. But the Russians were very angry at the Germans who killed 20 million of those people. And they didn't get over it until they reached Berlin. And now the U.S., Trump jokes about it. This is how depraved and degenerate. He's basically like a Baron Harkonnen from the book Dune. But he's laughing about killing off the whole leadership of Iran and their number one cleric, like the number one or two Shiite cleric in the world. They just had a memorial forum that involved 10 million people. Once this stuff dies down, it's not going to end. And that's what every American needs to understand. It's not going to end like your stupid stuff with shows on TV where like, oh, we can just make nice. And right there in the middle of all that stuff and these negotiations and these assassinations with Iran is Jared Kushner, who's a card-carrying, platinum-carrying member of the Epstein network, who, like, Netanyahu sleeps over there, and Kushner's seen with these guys, Leon Black, who's done unspeakable things. So it's really bad. So.
Shouldn't we just trust the plan, guys?
Q is part of it. I think these guys are part of Q. I think
absolutely.
Is Q.
Yeah, absolutely.
Q is actually done in Russia. So like Antifa actually started back in the 1870s. QAnon was a carbon copy of something that had been run in Russia after the Russian Revolution. And it was literally exact same playbook, exact same, method and modality.
Didn't the Cheka like set up their own group to play act, and then they caught people through that? Like, oh yeah, this is our resistance, but the resistance was totally fake, right?
Just like 1984, yeah, right? There is no Weinstein. What a Goldstein or whatever the guy.
Goldberg.
Yeah, something like that. It was a Steen, though. It was a guy with a big nose.
If they know you're following Q, they know they've got you. Like, that's the cognitive warfare Cass Sunstein thing.
Right.
Like, oh, this guy's a real Q believer. Okay, he's harmless. He's literally waiting for these secretive drops, and he's LARPing like a spook or a spy. Like, this is great. We've got so many suckers. Yes.
He's waiting for
millions of suckers.
He's waiting for ET to show up.
I have to
phone home.
I have to find this video because in the Q environment, there was going to be an appearance of JFK Jr. was going to show up at the grassy knoll.
Right.
And like literally there's 500 people there waiting for JFK Jr. to materialize. Like, it's real. Like, they're
it's like Pokemon Go. I mean,
it's like Pokemon Go. It's so true.
But I mean, it just, they also convinced everybody to wear masks. They, it's just like a stupid test, like to see how stupid the people really are. They're testing the waters, and they're, and once people started believing that, and I remember them seeing somebody in the crowd at the Trump rallies, and they were like, "Oh, look, it's him," and they were like, some dude wearing a hat or some shit, and then they were talking about how Trump's kid is going back in time, and all this stuff. It's really silly, but it just goes to show how people will believe anything, and so keep voting, because those people vote too. Like, so trust in the system, guys, because not only is it a bunch of rapist pedophiles that eat human flesh and children. it's also a bunch of stupid people voting for him. So we're all in this together, guys. Sorry to leave it on a downer note.
Yeah, I'll just do real quick, if you don't mind, Loomis. Just like
No problem.
close. So, in terms of this, I think we can see it sort of limited context and a broader context. It really, essentially, it is you could say the end game, right? Thousands of years going towards what, you know what I mean? And this is the complete. You look at the World Economic Forum, directly connected, the AI surveillance grid. That is what they want to have everything running on a complete 24-hour day, total surveillance grid. Anything you say will be logged and monitored. They just had these two kids. They went out, they got some taxi. They were 15 years old and they were drinking beer or something. The taxi pulled them over. They got arrested. The AI taxi pulled them over, right? This is what the future is. You can't get in a car. You can't even drive. If you can't drive someone who's been flagged, your money's frozen. And there's no way to do this without, and of course, one of the things we talked about, Epstein was working on AGI, right? This is where the actual general intelligence, where the artificial intelligence is greater than human intelligence, right? This is like the second coming, the avatar, or whatever.
Subjective, though. I mean,
no,
how great is human intelligence?
Well, yeah, not at
kidding,
this point. But so in a certain way, it's both very modern. It's also ancient in a certain way. Like this is they're following all these ancient cults. Like I said in the beginning. So this is the moving towards that. We see the Chabad connection, which is coming again off of Jakob Frank and Sabbatinism. The Chabad was basically a cover. So if you go deeper into Chabad, it's straight, millenarianism, apocalyptic, Lurianic Kabbalah with all the depravity of Sabbatinism, which is basically, so that's what Chabad is. A massively powerful movement. Trump may have actually been converted to Chabad. In fact, when he compared himself with God or whatever, that is part and parcel of the doctrine of Chabad, right? It's that we've talked about that, before. And Epstein, he's seen himself as a new Adam, right? He's going to repopulate the world. He is a living God. We are gods. We are going to re-engineer nature, and we're going to turn the entire planet into our little personal paradise, and everyone else is going to be a complete controlled slave, and we don't even have to lift a finger. You know what? Maybe millions of people get killed, accidentally by AI glitches, with our RoboCops. Who cares? We don't care. And that is what Epstein was pushing for. All these people are pushing for absolute moral depravity, no conscience whatsoever. But it is at the end game phase, just because I think of just the whole global historical process, economic stuff with the internet and all kinds of information, resources, etc. Global warming. No. Yes, I don't know. Just kidding. But basically, there is a certain limited time to take this. This is the kiamat. This is the end of history, right? Where history is over and you're locked into the cycle. There's no more history, right? You're in your perpetual thing. You're born and bred and live in your little slave city, your 60-minute city, which Trump is, by the way, going for implementing that also. They're all part of this agenda. And Epstein revealed the ancient roots and the modern face of this. And the fact is, these people, they hate you, man. They don't care about you. Bill Gates doesn't care. He doesn't like you. Most likely.
What do you mean he wears a sweater? He's a nice guy. He's like Bill Cosby.
He cares about our health. Well, guys, it's great having you guys all on and gathering. It's a dark subject, but, well, we have to be aware of it. And thank you guys for spending your time here. And especially you guys on the East Coast, you're up. It's pretty late for you guys. Like, what is it over there? Anyway,
it's
late enough.
It's late, but
yeah,
we love Chant It Down, and we like your audience, and so we're glad to be here. I am anyway. So,
well, I'm glad you guys are here, and we'll do some more talks with other things too. But where can everybody find your shows?
All right, I'll go.
You're on
Dibs.
mute.
All right, so Wake the Dead. You can find Wake the Dead anywhere. There's an audio podcast. I'm on all of them pretty much. And the videos are on BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube and Odyssey. And I do a lot of work with these gentlemen here, William and Hans. We've been going pretty much. We've been doing like
almost
series.
a full year, guys.
Almost a full year.
We started before Charlie Kirk got assassinated in August.
Right, and it's great. We've got into a groove now, where we're more cohesive as a group. I think we work together really well, and it's good. It's good to have you here again. It's like another Black Pill Digest from way back in the day.
Yes,
it's
it is.
The original crew. So it's really cool. And so anyway, I Wake the Dead, and I do. You can find me at onegreatworknetwork.com/Sean-McCann, and there's t-shirts. I sell anarchist designs and some photography stuff on the shirts. I try to get pretty good with it, and so there's a button there for that, and there's a donate button as well, and I have a PO box, and so if anybody wants to send me letters or anything, contact me. You can find it all there at that website. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, and Wake the Dead. I've done a lot of stuff with you, Sean. It's a good show, and I see all your feeds, and you guys are doing so much. You three, I can't even keep up. Like, I'm like, oh no, they did another one. Oh shit. Okay.
It's tough for me to keep up with them. Like,
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Leumas. It's good to be with you. Good to be with all of you guys again. We had 200 live listeners. Thanks everybody in the chat and everything.
Yeah, awesome.
I put links to all three shows that should be if you're watching this on YouTube or one of the other sites. So Resident State, Wake the Dead, EnchantedDownRadio.com. So check that out. I'm William Ramsey, 5 books, tons of episodes. William Ramsey Investigates the Audio. And I've got my YouTube channels back about a year ago. So streaming there, which it's kind of working out, but he who giveth can taketh away. So the tech gods may take it away at any time. But great to be with you guys again. Thanks for
you might be the busiest podcaster I know. You put out a lot of stuff. It's great stuff.
I've been busy. There's some projects coming out soon too. So.
Awesome. Thanks, William. And Hans.
Great. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me, Leumas. It's been a great pleasure. And Resonant State, I've changed from the world's most popular podcast to the world's friendliest podcast. No, but I'm on Spotify, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, Odyssey, and I'm also on One Great Radio Network. I have to make sure
One Great Work Network.com/Hans-Utter.
Yeah,
that's how it'll be.
It's still, I have uploaded some stuff there. I don't know how many people have watched it. Sean, at least give me one view, brother. But it's always great working with these guys, and we're going, and I think we have kind of a good body of work, and we're just continuing the fight. We're like the founding fathers of something. Maybe not that much, but we're telling the truth. So
we're going to cover Lolita this Sunday, guys, at 6 p.m. So be there. If you want to sit in, you can. Leumas, join us. I've never read it, so I'm going to try to read it. In the
6 p.m. Pacific.
Pacific, thank you.
So it'll be 9 p.m. Eastern for us, you and me, Hans.
I am going to try to read through it. So
supposedly Nabokov is a great writer, so everybody likes how he writes. So if you can just get past the pedophilia stuff.
I just found out that he kills Quilty at the end, right? So Quilty is he's the Epstein guy. He's the network pedophile.
Right. Yeah. And he's in the mansion.
He's in the mansion, right? So
And Quilty, we'll talk about it later.
Sorry. Well, guys, it's been great having you all together. We haven't done this since Black Pilled, and I guess it was about time. So, good talks, and thanks everyone in the chat for listening. A lot of good stuff in there. I couldn't even read it all. Awesome stuff. You guys are great. All right, guys. Well,
all right.
I'm going to end the stream.
Thank you. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.